What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm joined by my friend Adrian from Australia.
What's up?
And Will from the States.
What's up?
And all three of us are in Sweden right now, so we thought, all right, let's give you Swedes some international perspectives on what us English-speaking foreigners think about your beautiful country here. So Adrian, why don't you start? Give us some of your background experiences in Sweden. How long have you been here? Have you been here before?
Yeah, cool. So I arrived in Sweden basically at the beginning of June, and I came here because I was stuck in Finland for the past 4 months prior to that, and it was getting boring. And then I was like, okay, where can I go, right? Where in Europe can I go where the countries are open and the situation isn't as messed up?
You picked the right place.
Yeah, and then a friend was like, "Oh, Sweden's open. Everything's like normal here." I mean, if a Swede's watching this, they may be like, "Oh, it's not normal," but like you know what I mean. It's like a lot more normal than the rest of the world. Like things are still open and no one's like scared and everything. And so I came in the beginning of June. It's August now.
August, yeah.
So been here for 2 months so far, staying for another half a month. So in total, I'll be here for about 2.5 months. And, you know, one thing that really popped and that I really like about Sweden is the whole summer in general, the whole like midsummer thing. The fact that the sun doesn't go down is just absolutely insane.
That's
like
awesome.
That's a massive pro. Like you won't get that anywhere in the world besides obviously like countries like other Nordic countries, so like Finland, Norway,
or Alaska, but who lives up there?
Who lives up there? Yeah. So it's like that just that experience is just really insane, especially coming from Australia, you know, not being experienced to something like that ever. Yeah. I think it's just really awesome vibes. So it's definitely something that's like a pro. But then I heard in the winter, and you can say this, like that there's no sun.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like in the shortest days of the year, it like comes up around maybe 10 in Stockholm, and then sets around like 2 or 3. Yeah. So it'll be like 4 or 5 hour days in Stockholm, but then the further north you go, the like exponentially shorter the days get. But on the flip side, in the summer, they have the midnight sun, where you're like out hiking and it's like 2 a.m.
So it kind of like balances out a bit.
I don't know if I want that extreme though. I do love the long days, but wow, the longer the days get, the more you just pay for it.
Like I was considering signing a lease for a year, and then I'm like, okay, like this weather, this sun is like influencing me, but I need to think like, okay, how's it gonna be in the winter?
It's gonna change.
It's gonna change dramatically.
It kind of gets you either way because like in the summertime, you're out late because it's bright for so long. You don't think about the time. It's like 10, 11 at night, and you're like, oh, it just like seems like maybe 8 or 9. And then what you forget is like when the sun comes up at like 3 in the morning. Like luckily I've got like room darkening curtains at my place here, but like before that. And it's just like bright, and you're like, why am I awake at 3 in the morning after I was just up all night? And
it's just so insane. Like I even posted a couple of these stories on my Instagram, and like I tagged 3 a.m. and people responding. They're like,
what's going on?
They're like, why is it light? It's just so uncommon. It's like coming from Australia, it's so uncommon. Like. The first time I experienced this was when I first went to Iceland, and it's just like mind boggling. Yeah. You know, so that's something I definitely like about Sweden. So it's like the summer is just like amazing because it's like you know, sunlight 24/7. But you know, Swedes have told me that summer's really like hit and miss. You know, so it's like you can have a
rainy summer.
Yeah, you can have a rainy summer. You can only have like a couple of days of really good weather, but then it just does a complete 180. But so far, like the summer's been great.
Perfect. It hasn't been too hot. For example, one of my first summers in Sweden, it was like the hottest recorded summer in Sweden, which sounds great. I'm a guy that loves the warm weather, but then you realize, oh, I'm in a Nordic country where like very few places have air conditioning. and then you're like stuck inside when it's like 35 degrees.
But that's a whole. All right, so now we're talking about the pro and cons. That's a European thing anyway.
Yeah.
We Americans. I don't know about Australia because I haven't been. I'm too scared to go down there because you guys are giant spiders, so I can't really get there. But like in America, we love centralized air heating and stuff like that. So air conditioning is just the summer doesn't really affect us. But when I moved to Europe, because when I first moved to Europe, I moved to Denmark, and at my club, we had a house. That whole Scandinavian vibe, really, really nice, real open. And I remember it was the summer, it was like June, and it was starting, when the sun comes through, your house is an oven. It becomes an oven. And I went around looking for the air conditioner. I'm like, it's gotta be down here. Is it over here? It's not over here. No, there's none. You just open your windows. And that's the thing that we Americans, when the summer happens, you turn on the air conditioning and you forget about it. It's wasteful, but that's just the American thing.
I remember filming a video one of these hot summers, and I would like talk on camera for like 20 seconds, and then I'd just like go and like stand in front of the fan.
Yeah, because you're just sweating.
I'd take a break. I had to like make so many cuts in that video, and my hair is like in different positions between every cut. Oh, it was brutal. It was brutal. All right, Will, so what's the first thing that you noticed, and how long have you been here?
So I got here basically the beginning of March. And so that makes it, just a few months, 4 or so, something like this. I'm not new to the Scandinavian way. I've been to Sweden a couple of times, but after having lived in Denmark, after living in the north of Finland, I've already experienced this midsummer thing. Have you seen the Northern Lights yet?
Yeah, man, it's crazy.
It's right?
So beautiful. Oh my God.
It gets understated. Like, that's a thing you see in videos, kind of, in like movies.
And a lot of Swedes haven't. I asked them.
Oh, really?
Because well, think about it. If you live somewhere, right, you don't go to like touristy places because you think, oh, I can always see this. But a lot of Swedes I've spoken to, I'm like, oh, have you seen the Northern Lights? And they're like maybe like 50% haven't.
How have you not?
I know.
It's unreal. Yeah, when I was living up in the north of Finland, just seen it, I didn't expect to be blown away by some colors, right? Yeah. There's just some lights in the sky. No, it's ridiculous. Have you seen it?
I actually haven't seen it.
Bro, for how long you've been here, you gotta get up there, man.
3 years.
You gotta see it.
I've mostly been in like, the furthest north I've actually been in Sweden is Dalarna, the state of Dalarna. So it's like maybe 2.5 hours north of Stockholm.
I wonder if that's higher than Luleå. Do you know Luleå?
No. Luleå is way...
Alright, that's my place, the north.
Maybe 5 hours up from here.
I
think, comment if I'm wrong, but... It's definitely higher than Dalarna.
I love the sun. If I could find... If Sweden could somehow work it out where the sun is up just all the time, we didn't have this winter thing. This is the place.
Well, we can work it out. We just come in the summer.
That's kind of how it works. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, come in the summer, and then as soon as it's like super cold, just go somewhere else that's warm.
And I think a lot of Swedes have that mentality. Like in the winter, everybody's like backpacking through Australia, backpacking through Thailand, or
there's a huge connection between Australia and Sweden.
There's a lot of Australians here.
Would you say?
There are tons.
I met a couple of Australians, but I haven't met a lot.
I've seen there been that whole Swedes go to Australia, go pick up a husband,
but I have seen a ton of Swedes in Australia. Like in Australia, we have a lot of Swedes, a lot of Norwegians, and a lot of Germans. They're the 3 when it comes to like tourists from Europe. We have a lot of those 3.
I don't know.
Well, I think it's like these northern European countries, they want to like go experience places with the nice weather, and I know that with Australia you can get the work and travel visa quite easily, whereas America doesn't really have something like that. So and plus like all of Australia is better weather, like whereas US you've got like California and Florida and like select parts that are nice. But it's surprising to me because America being a country with like 320 million and Australia being what, like 20 something?
Like 20.
It's super small, and like proportionately, like they're
the same sizes proportionally, like Australia, US.
But like population wise, if there was an equal number of like Americans that would come proportionally to Australians, I should be meeting like at least 10 Americans for every one Australian that I meet here. And it's really like 50-50. Well, probably not 50-50, but it's still like proportionately so many Australians here. And I think it's the Australians. They meet the cute Swedish girls that are traveling, and then the Swedish girls, they don't want to leave Sweden because there's so many benefits here from the social perspective, and they're really well taken care of. They have their families here, and then the Australian guys are like, well, I'll go.
It's such a nice country here, though. I mean, the organization, all that stuff, that goes also understated. You hear about it, you understand the way of life, the Scandinavian, not just, I mean, there's differences between Finland, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, obviously, but like it is just the way they structure things to just, there's something in America, and I can imagine Australia too, these Western countries, we're all there's also a good way of like I've lived and played in places. I played in Morocco, played in Azerbaijan, you know, like do you even know where Azerbaijan is?
No.
So there you go. Like, do you?
It's in it's in really Eastern Europe, close to the Middle East, right?
Yeah, it's like that border, because you know Turkey. Like if you've been to Turkey, which I love, you know, it's like that's like the line right there of Europe and Middle East. Right. Azerbaijan is this Caspian. It's right there on that. But it's awesome because it shares culture from. It's like imagine, because you know how the way the world looks at kind of this this Muslim world and kind of being strict and kind of having this stuff. Because they're right on that border there, they've got this whole culture from the West influencing, but it's still got all of that. So it meets right there and gives you this really weird, like clubs are, you can go out if you wanted to go out to bars and things like that. And it's not as strict, you know? So, but anyway, no, just being over here, I love how it's just calm, just chill. Life is, there's no natural disasters. There's no
earthquakes.
No earthquakes. It's just
we don't have the big spiders like
no.
Actually, I've seen some wicked spiders at my friend's summer house. Maybe not for like wicked for you.
Sweden.
Yeah, but it was like the body was like this big.
That's nothing. Though.
But still, like
well,
gross
I see,
as hell. Like.
Is this real or not? Can we get into this?
Wait, this big?
I don't know.
Nah, you like this big?
That's too much.
Yeah,
that's your hand.
Our hands.
I can eat your hand. It's too much. No, that's too big. Out of the spiders.
But that's like if it's spread out. If it's spread out, like you know, spider spread out.
Yeah. But that's a thing, though, right?
How
like,
often would you see that?
Oh, pretty often.
Really?
Like it depends. Like growing up, like I could come home, switch the lights on, and you just see a massive like.
How do you take care of it? You hit it with a baseball bat?
Like, I'm not doing this.
How do you take them out? Like,
you just spray it.
You have a spider spray that takes them out?
Yeah.
And then you dispose of the body? Like
dispose of the body? No, you gotta dig.
No. You know what sometimes happens? The spray isn't enough, so when you think it's dead, you go like, all right, I'll just go get something and pick it up with, and then it's gone.
It's gone. Dude, no. That's the one thing about Austria. I love it. I can't wait. One of my favorite podcasts called Mysterious Universe. I don't know where they're at exactly. Sydney. Yeah, they're in Sydney, which I want to go there. It's just something about the bugs, the reptiles, all that.
I don't think that's enough to keep me away, but it's definitely a con. So we'll chalk that up as a pro for Sweden.
Yeah.
Less massive creature. Less likely to die from sharks, spiders.
Right. Yeah. What are your pros? Then what's your pro? What's your
my pro? Thing? I've talked about my pros so many times.
Oh, really?
Fika is a great one.
That's a cool one.
Yeah,
Fika? Does he know it?
Wait. Oh, fika is that the breaks? You have these coffee breaks constantly?
Yeah. It's funny because I got into a discussion about I was having an acai bowl the other day and I put a little Instagram story. I'm having a fika, and then there was some Swedish girl that was mad. She's like, "That's not fika. That's freaking Brazilian." Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what? For me, fika isn't even about the coffee and the cinnamon rolls. For me, fika it's a mindset. It's
yeah.
You know, it's for me, fika represents more than having my cinnamon roll. It's it's the opportunity to take a break, relax, enjoy life. That's more of the concept of fika to me. Fika could be having a beer with some friends, or fika could be a lot of different things.
Do you know Hygge? Do you know Hygge from Denmark?
Hygge.
I don't know what they say in Sweden, but Hygge.
Hygge is what they say. Okay.
Yeah, it's it's the same thing. You can't translate this word. It gets translated into English as cozy. Yeah. But it's not. It doesn't mean cozy. What we were doing here, the window was open. You were having a drink. You were just sitting here and chilling. That's that's Hygge. It's like a mentality feeling of this cozy, warm. It's really hard to explain, but it's a whole Danish thing, kind of like fika.
But I was talking to some Danes, and they said that I always pictured that to be candlelight.
It can be
cozy, but they were no, it's more partying.
Okay.
Hygge.
I always thought it was Hygge. That's Hygge.
Yeah. No, it doesn't have to be party. I've never really heard it called as party. It's a night. It can be with friends. It could be just you and a girl. It could be just guys hanging out, having a thing. It doesn't have to be.
So fika and Hygge is almost the same.
Almost the same. Almost.
But there's going to be mad
Swedish
comments.
It's not. Yeah.
I guess in English we would just say like coffee break.
Dude, we don't have anything like this.
Yeah, no, we don't have anything like this.
Yeah, it's not.
It's like it's even hearing it for the first time. I'm like, oh, interesting. Like,
yeah,
it just sounds like a very unique thing that's like in the Swedish culture, you know, or the Danish culture.
Right.
What do you think comparing like work cultures? Because I actually just made a video. I don't know if it'll be released yet when I release this, but I was talking about like the work-life balance in America and in Sweden, and how there is much more of a work-life balance in Sweden when it comes to things like paternity leave.
Yeah, I think
vacation.
I think when it comes to like working here in Sweden, I think it's a lot better than most other countries.
Yeah.
So most other countries, you know, Australia, America, mostly have the whole 9 to 5 thing, right?
Yeah.
Here in Sweden, they mostly have like 6-hour work days. And the reason for that is so that way, like I was speaking earlier, the reason for that is the whole, you know, once you have a task in front of you, and say for example, that task would only take you 30 minutes to complete, but you have an hour to complete it, you're going to stretch that task throughout the entire hour, right? So here in Sweden, right, it's like, now I don't know if it's every single workplace, right?
No.
But most places,
not all, but a lot.
Yeah, a lot of places they'll have like 6-hour work days or 7-hour. I can't remember which one. It's 6 or 7. And they're able to get all the work done that they could do in the 8 hours, but then also they've got, you know, extra time to spend with their family, to take up a hobby, to do things that make them happy. So that in return, like they're overall more happier.
Definitely.
You know, so I think the you know, when it comes to work, I think it depends what you do, right? It really depends what you do. If you're an entrepreneur, it's kind of different. If you kind of work for yourself, it's different. But like if you're working for a company, I think Sweden's definitely a good place to be, as opposed to like Australia or America, where it's more so like
Eastern Europe. They work
and
hours and hours.
In contrast, I mean, I work for a Swedish company that is in a startup space, so it's very entrepreneurial, and people are working maybe a lot longer and harder than maybe the average Swedish workplace. But even when I started my job, for in contrast to comparison, if I were to be in the same environment in the U.S., I was like, all right, well, what are the times and hours? And they're like, well, we usually start around 9, and then we kind of work until we feel like going home. It wasn't like a set thing, and because everybody's so motivated and passionate in the business, like most of the time people don't go home until like 5 or 6 anyway. But it's just like in America, it'd be like, you're gonna be here from like, if it was the same sort of night, it could be like 8 to 6, and you're gonna be fine. And
that's what I really dislike about about the whole 9 to 5 grind. It's like, it almost feels like you're like stuck. It's like you're like stuck between these hours. Whereas as you're saying, it's like, okay, you can do this work and you can leave whenever, you know? So
and maybe it leads to this sort of hustle culture in America, because people want to make it. They want to escape the 9 to 5 because they want that freedom. Whereas in Sweden, I think a lot more people are just content because they have a much better work-life balance on average. So they're like, oh, I've got my job, I've got my family, I can enjoy these different aspects and hobbies in my life.
But that social aspect that the whole country has also gives to that part of the culture. The fact that everybody understands health insurance, and we don't even have to go there into our country. I don't know how it is in Australia, but like that's a whole thing in the US where we can't provide proper health care to everyone. People get scared about having to go to the hospital. How is it when, you want to escape that 9 to 5 because you want to be able to take care of you, your family, etc., all the things that are going on. And I mean, it has its pluses. I mean, America has this because we have this weird optimistic nature. America's just, it's going to be, you come here, you can do this, you can make it. You can be this, you can be an entrepreneur, you can be whatever, you know what I mean? And not that it's not like that here, but I get this general sense in Sweden, they don't have that. Not that everybody's, because once again, for the most part, everything is okay. The country functions very well, and most everybody's taken care of. I do see a few homeless people here, which is
most of the people that you see that are like begging outside are not Swedish. Though. They come from other countries where the Swedish kroner is worth a lot more money. So they try to get money in the Swedish currency that they can then send back to their families.
Right.
And there are homeless Swedish people too, of course,
For
but
sure.
you don't see it as much. But why would you come to Sweden as a homeless person? You want to go through the Swedish winter? If you're homeless?
Maybe they come. Maybe they're like us. Maybe they come in the summer and they dip out. Head south. You know.
They migrate. They have migration patterns.
Maybe, dude. I don't know.
Talking about the basically like Swedish hospitals and the healthcare and stuff. I don't know much about it, but Australia is pretty good in that sense.
Is it?
But also, there's actually a deal between like the Australian government and the Swedish government, and also Finland and Denmark, that if so Australia has free healthcare, right?
Okay.
So if I were to get injured or have to use a hospital here, I wouldn't be charged because it would be like
a mutual agreement.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and that's the same if Swedes go to Australia and they need to use the hospital.
It's taken care of.
Yeah, it's taken care of.
What's up with us?
We don't have that because we don't have free coverage in the US.
Yeah, no,
come on.
Yeah,
so that's one thing. Like also because people's insurance is always tied to their job in the US.
Yeah.
It's like people are more afraid to take entrepreneurial risks. Why would you leave your job that's providing your income, your health care?
I know.
You know, all of these things. You're more afraid to take that risk to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So on the pro side, they even have a situation in Sweden where if you're working at your job, I was reading about this the other day, they want to encourage people to be entrepreneurs. So they have this like sabbatical rule at a lot of employers in Sweden where they can take time off from their job to start a business, but not lose their position if they decide to come back.
How long do they give them?
I think it's like a year or something. Don't quote me on that, but it's actually an extended period of time.
Got 1 year to become a successful entrepreneur, basically. Good luck.
Well,
you're gonna work hard.
But people are more, you don't have to worry as much when you have this safety net system. But on the con side, when you do start to make money as an entrepreneur, the taxes are just insane here. I mean, you don't necessarily see it when you're an employee because, most people in my tax bracket would pay like 30% as an employee.
You're shielded by that.
Right?
Yeah.
But what you don't see is that the employer also pays like an additional 20%. That's not even like on your salary. So really the true tax rate is closer to 50%. And when you're an entrepreneur, you absorb that cost yourself. So it really becomes like 50% in taxes. And when you're not making that much money, you're like, oh my God, I would be paying like 10% in the US on the same. And that's a very, very con for somebody that wants to become an entrepreneur. Sure, you have the free healthcare. Sure, you're taken care of in some ways, but you do pay for it. And you don't necessarily see it unless, and also salaries are lower here than in the States, and you have to account for that 20% that the employer pays that you don't get to see.
Right.
So that's very interesting.
Then I can imagine entrepreneurs just trying to establish a company in another country and then hang out here. Could you not do that? Given the world that is?
So you can actually. I mean, it's different for U.S. citizens, but like for an Australian citizen, I can, and I have a European passport, right? So I can actually pick a low tax, basically like a country that has low income taxes, set up residency there and pay residency there, right? And so say for example, Andorra is a country with 10% flat rate. It doesn't matter how much you make, right?
10%.
10%.
That sounds
where we head.
That doesn't work for us. We have US passports. We're still paying.
Bulgaria is also a country that off just 10% flat rate. Doesn't matter. You can make $1 million, right? So if I make $1 million in Australia, I would have to pay 500,000, right? If I make $1 million while being a tax resident in Bulgaria, 100,000.
Jeez.
Right? Or like Montenegro is really good. It's like 9%, max 14%. Or like for example, Switzerland. You'd think Switzerland's more expensive, but they usually calculate your taxes based on the property you own. So if you own like a, if you own like a
dink house,
okay. So it's like you could do that, right? You could like set up residency somewhere else and then like hang out in Sweden. So I think that's definitely a con if you're an entrepreneur wanting to set up a company or a business here in Sweden. You're gonna have to pay a lot in taxes. If you're a resident in Sweden.
But I also think although there are tax difficulties and things starting a business here, I think the level of trust with consumers is a lot higher. for example, in America, there's so many people trying to hustle and make it, and you're like, all right, can I trust this person? Can I trust this business? Whereas like in general, I think like in general throughout the society, there's a lot more like trust amongst consumers and businesses in general.
And that comes from the regulations that they stipulate on the people trying to get, like I've talked to friends who want to try and start businesses here, and you have to go through some loops. It's not like we're going to go down to the whatever, the office, sign this thing, you're a company, give a little bit. It's way different, especially if you want a physical location here in Sweden. So I think the trust comes from the fact that you've got to jump through some loops. And if you were just a hustler trying to do that, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do it, so. And
there's so many like little rules and things like in America, you can just earn money yourself. You don't have to register. You can just earn money as a freelancer and then register your income, right? Yeah, exactly. And in Sweden, you're not allowed to do that. You have to register yourself as a freelancer with the tax organization. So
and you then pay taxes on
exactly.
Your
so you already have to register yourself, even if you're only working for yourself, which is interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So we talk about a lot of like positives, right? A lot of pros.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little cons, right? So one I noticed is about the people, right? So if you're new and you come to Sweden as a foreigner and you don't know anyone, a lot of people can be very cold, very closed off, very reserved.
You've been in here in the summertime, you should come back in the winter. That's when they're really cool.
Like comparing to Australia or even America, you can go on the streets and you can be like, oh, hey, what's up? And you can meet someone. Here, right? If I go to someone on the street, I'm like, oh, hey, what's up? My name's Adrian. Nice to meet you. To give you a perspective, 1 out of 3 people in Australia or America will be super receptive, right? Here in Sweden, what I've realized, about 1 out of 10 will be receptive. So the amount of people that are more closed off, it's just greater. And then even like, I feel like transitioning that into dating, I feel like women will kind of be polite and like super polite. They won't tell you they're not interested. They'll just be polite. They'll be like, oh yeah.
It's almost easier to just get a straight up answer.
So like in Australia and America, like you can get a straight up answer where it's like, oh yeah, I'm not interested. But here it's like they'll be polite, really friendly. They'll seem interested, but then they
they politely do not respond to your message.
But like, just like giving a perspective, it's like not everyone in Sweden. I've met a ton of people, a ton of women who are super open, but like, in Australia, America, average like 1 out of 3 will be super receptive. And then in Sweden, it's like 1 out of 10. But then on top of that, it's like, the people are totally different if you compare them from the day to the night. Totally different. They're like different people. It's like in the day they'll be like, super closed, but in the night they'll actually be a lot more open, a lot more friendlier.
I noticed that as well. And I mean, just walking around in town, sometimes during the day, I'll have people like kind of awkwardly staring at me, but they won't actually say anything. But then, like, if I'm at a bar or something with some friends, I'm much more likely for somebody to come up and be like, hey, like, what's up? So it's very, like, I definitely see the difference. Like, Swedes, when they have a few drinks in the evenings, they can really, really open up. And that's
so true. That's so true. I was just going to say, just for the American side, one of the things that they say about us, Australia, America in general, is that we talk too much, obviously. Because we can't. But I don't know which one I would like. As a matter of fact, there is and I talked about this with my girl before. So in America, you've been there plenty, so you know this. When you go to, say, a normal restaurant, that facade that the waiters put on? Hey, Adrian, nice to see you. We've got this today. And it seems fake. I mean, it is kind of fake, but it's also, that's the American, she's showing like respect and trust for the business. That's how they do it. They don't do that over here. Europeans tend to have this image of Americans, or I don't know how, England kind of gets this rap too. The Englander on vacation, they're loud. Americans, when they get in a restaurant, we're loud and we do all this stuff. Swedes they're very respectful of your time, of your area and stuff like that. Every time that I've gone out and tried to talk, and when I see American friends, American people like this stuff, we're loud. It's true. I don't know, Australia, you guys are kind of with us there. We're loud.
I think Americans and Australians are more similar.
It's like this. It's like if you put it on a spectrum, right? You have like Americans here, and then Australians like around here, right? And then Sweden is like here.
Off
They just want to be cautious about their stuff. It's smart. And that's what I'm gonna say. How did that happen?
Why?
So I've come to a conclusion with this. I've actually been thinking about this because I was like, why is it that like Swedes are so like reserved and like shy and just like so quiet? So my conclusion is, and because this is like, all right, so I've been to Finland, I've been to Norway, Iceland, and it's similar like that. Like Icelandic people, Norwegians, Finnish, Swedish, they're all like very shy, very, very reserved, closed off. And what do they all have in common?
The cold weather.
That's what I was gonna say.
The cold weather, right? And not much sunlight. And what do they do during those times? They stay home, they're by themselves. They don't really meet new people. They just talk to their friends that are already within their social circle. So they're not used to like building those social circles. So that's basically my conclusion to why Swedes and Nordic people are more reserved is because they're just not used to meeting so many people. It's just not within that sort of...
In the wintertime, even if you do go outside, it's cold, you're not spending a lot of time outside, and it's so dark that even if you see somebody that's like an acquaintance that you know, they could walk right by you. And it's so dark that you're not even going to stop and say, hey, because you're not going to take the risk. Oh, maybe it's a stranger. So
I think that's got... It's for sure, you're for sure onto something, because if you look at the other cultures, like my dad's from Nigeria, I spent a lot of time in Africa as well. I played as a professional with tons of Brazilians. What are those cultures known as? What are they like? You can Brazil. Everything's out in the open. Things are this. You talk like this. I don't know if either of you guys have been to Brazil or Africa.
No.
Either. Yeah. Okay. So that's perfect for your interviews. You've been to Egypt. Okay.
That's
I've been to Egypt. Plenty of times. 3 times actually. They're still a little more reserved to there. But as you start to float towards Central and Western Africa, or if you go to Brazil, you're gonna have people dying to be on interviews and dying to talk. You talk to people that are just well out and open. But the weather. You're always outside. You're always hanging out, even when it's like, so even Egypt though too, you hang out at like 10 o'clock at night, like all the time. Like people are just always out. You don't go inside, and that creates this culture where people are just like, hey, what's up, you know?
And it also creates a culture where people might be more productive on like work types of things too. Because you look at like countries that are like really, really far north, they're very like efficient, producing a lot of things. And I feel like sometimes for me, I get a lot of work done in the winter because I'm just cooped up inside. I'm like, I'm not going to go out partying every night, so I'll just edit videos.
Yeah, that's so true. Like, look at the things that have come out from Sweden. Like, IKEA's come out from Sweden. Spotify's come out from Sweden. Like, a ton of these other...
Skype, King, Electrolux.
Skype's from here.
It's tons. I know I'm forgetting H&M. It's tons of companies come out of Sweden. Per capita. And also music. Music per capita.
Really?
I think Sweden's number 1 per capita. Huge. Even like people that aren't Swedish, you look at like the people that are producing like behind their music. Oftentimes it's Swedes, but you get the big EDM producers. Avicii, obviously, Alesso, Swedish House Mafia, like all these kinds of people. Icona Pop. I mean, ABBA, of course, was kind of one of those first like more mainstream artists to come out of Sweden, but per capita, it's such a small country producing so much music. Maybe the darkness and people sitting inside, singing, working on their music productions at home could be something to it. So with that, guys, we've been going on for a while here.
Some time,
So I think we're gonna wrap this one up, but leave some comments down below what you guys think, pros and cons being in Sweden. If you live here, if you visited here, it's always interesting to see that. Go check out my friends here on social media. They both have YouTube channels as well. I'll link all that stuff down below in the description. Thanks for watching this one. We'll see you on the next one.